What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Once again, we're going to do another quick comparison between two phones that I dearly love. Like, honestly, I know this may sound weird, but both of these phones I had relationships with, I brought them to dates and everything. They both left me at around the same time, so I'm just going to say that. I know that's really weird, but someone had to say it. So the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone 7 Plus are two phones that are very related to each other. The iPhone 7 Plus was one of the main phones I used for a brief moment of time. I think like 6 months, which in my opinion, that's a long time to own a phone for me because I constantly am switching phones. I think the iPhone 10 that I have now is pretty much up there with the amount of phones that I've used, like for the lifespan that I've used them. With the iPhone 8 Plus, I never used it as a main phone because by the time that I bought it, I already owned the iPhone 10, so there was no point in even switching. But I have so much respect for both of them. I think they're both very, very solid phones. There's not too many problems with them either, so they're very safe phones at the same time. So really, it's just a matter of whether you want to save money or you're okay spending a little bit more money for a phone. But let's go ahead and see how both of these hold up in 2019. I do a speed comparison, I do all that good stuff. So let's just get into it. Now, if you want to see a full review of each of these phones and how they actually hold up in 2019, you can go watch my double eye swides I've done on them. You can probably even search up in the search bar iPhone 7 Plus in 2019, and my video will probably be one of the first ones. But just type in simple Alpaca iPhone 7 Plus in 2019 or 8 Plus in 2019, whatever, and you'll be able to find those videos from there. So sorry to bore you guys, but had to get that out of the way. Now, the iPhone 7 Plus came out in 2016 in September, and this was actually the first time we saw a dual camera setup as well as the removal of the headphone jack, which had a lot of people in their feelings. It still does. A lot of people don't want to move on from that, but it is what it is. The iPhone 8 Plus though came out in 2017 in September, so exactly a year apart from these things were like obviously in the hand. I mean, obviously they're around the same size, although the iPhone 7 Plus, depending on the variant you get, does feel noticeably cheaper than the 8 Plus, and that's mostly to do with the glass on the back with the 8 Plus. Now, my specific unit does have a cracked back. I'm sorry about that, guys. Please don't hate on me that it just happened to be like that. It was the cheapest one I could buy for the moment, but I will say if you own the iPhone 7 Plus in jet black, which is the one I owned as a main phone for a brief moment of time, like I stated, that one is a very solid phone. It feels very solid in the hands, and I really like that. I would probably prefer that over the glass on the back, mostly because the glass obviously breaks and it's just one more piece, like I said, to break. Mine's already broken. With the jet black one, it wasn't even glass, but it felt better than glass. It was a really weird thing. I really hope Apple brings that back and removes the glass back overall, but I don't know if they can add wireless charging through it because the iPhone 7 Plus does not have wireless charging, but the iPhone 8 Plus does have wireless charging, so that's a pretty big difference right there, depending on which one you like, which one, whatever. The iPhone 8 Plus will allow you to wirelessly charge your devices, where the iPhone 7 Plus will not. Kind of an unfortunate thing, but it is what it is. Now, another similarity between these two is that they both have IP67 dust and water resistance, so you can go up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes, so that is actually a very cool thing. I really love how they put that in these phones. The 7 Plus was the first iPhone to bring an IP certified water resistance, but the 6S and 6S Plus, from what I heard, actually brought water resistance too, so that's kind of interesting. The screens up front are both 5.5 inches, they're 1080p, same exact pretty much everything, same PPI, 401 pixels per inch. They both have Force Touch. A big thing about the iPhone 8 Plus though is that it does have a True Tone display, which the iPhone 7 Plus does not, and I like True Tone a lot. I think it's really cool. It just adds a little bit more dynamic texture to the screen. I think that's the best way I can put it. So that's a really cool thing Apple did with this specific iPhone 8 Plus. So it might be worth upgrading if you're into that, but it's really not even that big of a deal if I'm being honest. If you don't use it, you won't really care. That's probably the best way I can put it. Now, in terms of software, this is what I'm going to say. In theory, the iPhone 7 Plus should last a year less than the iPhone 8 Plus. So in my opinion, the iPhone 7 Plus is going to get iOS 13 as well as iOS 14, where the iPhone 8 Plus should go all the way up to iOS 15. And I think the 8 Plus will probably stop there, and I think the 7 Plus will probably stop there as well. But Apple could fluctuate the time span of both of these phones and maybe make one last longer an extra year than the other. So maybe the 7 Plus will last an extra year and match the 8 Plus, or maybe the 8 Plus will last an extra year, so it'll be 2 years ahead of the 7 Plus. I really don't know yet. Apple has done this in the past, case in point the iPhone 5S, so maybe Apple will do the same thing here. I'm not really too sure, but if I had to say it, they're probably going to be 1 year apart. So inspecting the lifespan of the software, the 7 Plus will not last as long as the 8 Plus, but in terms of the features with the software and everything, I mean, they both have the same exact features within them. There's really nothing that's crazily different between them, so that's a really cool thing. So it has all the features, group FaceTime, all that stuff that iOS 12 brings, and I'm pretty sure all the cool features that iOS 13 is bringing, it'll be able to handle those fine, and there won't be a big difference between the 7 Plus and the 8 Plus, so kind of a quick thing to note there as well. Now, in terms of the specs and the performance of it all, the iPhone 7 Plus has the Apple A10 Fusion chip. The iPhone 8 Plus has the Apple A11 Bionic chip, quad-core CPU on the 7 Plus and 3 gigs of RAM, where the iPhone 8 Plus had a hexa-core CPU and 3 gigs of RAM as well. And what I can tell you is, without a doubt, there's really not too much crazy difference between these two, if I'm being honest. I know I hate to say it, I wish there was a crazier difference so I can spend more time talking about it, but there's really not. I mean, if I was using the 7 Plus and I was using the 8 Plus separately, I probably would not think there was a crazy difference between them. I mean, I know the iPhone 8 Plus is faster. I know it is because, I mean, that's mostly because I use these things every single day and I test them through every single iPhone and most phones that come out. So I already know like the 8 Plus is faster, but I wouldn't notice like I wouldn't notice if I used them separately in different times, like one was way faster than the other. But I will say is that when I did my speed comparison, you can tell that the iPhone 8 Plus is just noticeably faster. I'm not going to say it's way faster or anything like that. I don't think the price point is like 2 times as great of a phone or whatever. And there could be a situation where the iPhone 7 Plus is a better value per dollar. But as a whole, I don't think the iPhone 8 Plus is like 30 times faster or anything like that. I think it's noticeably faster, and I think that's usually where it ends. You know, like I said, if you're not comparing them side by side, I don't think you'll notice too much of a difference. Gaming on both of these phones is perfectly fine. Your high-intensive, low-intensive game is going to be good. The iPhone 8 Plus obviously will be able to handle it better. I think this is just a theory. I think the iPhone 8 Plus kind of gives it the feeling that it kind of heats up more, mostly because of the glass back. Now, that could be just my unit, could be my opinion. I have hot and sweaty hands. I have to fix that. But that is one thing that could be a problem for me. It could be not a problem for you, who knows? But I will tell you, if the iPhone 8 Plus's performance was perfect, it was a 10 out of 10, which it's not, but let's just say it was, the iPhone 7 Plus would probably be like a 9 out of 10, maybe even higher. I don't think there's a crazy difference or anything. Obviously, it is faster, but in reality, I don't think you're going to worry about it too much. Now, moving on to the cameras, this is another thing where it's really not too crazy difference, if I'm being honest. I hate to say it, but you know, it is what it is. The iPhone 7 Plus had two 12-megapixel cameras, a dual camera setup, and like I said before, it was the first iPhone to bring that. You could shoot 4K videos and 1080p at 120 frames per second, so that's really, really cool. I think photos on this thing, at the time that I was using it, which was 2017, were awesome. I love them a lot. Portrait mode was awesome, and studio lighting, all those different things that the 7 Plus had was completely game-changing for a little bit of time. The iPhone 8 Plus pretty much has the same exact software features as well, dual camera setup, 12 megapixels on both sensors. The biggest difference probably would be that you can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second, so that's a pretty big jump, and you can also do 1080p at 240 frames per second, and that's pretty much where, I mean, like, I would tell you that the iPhone 8 Plus's camera is better because it is a newer camera sensor and all that stuff, but like I said before, if I'm not using them side by side, I probably wouldn't even notice that big of a difference. I still think both of these cameras are super solid. I think the iPhone 7 Plus's camera is very, very good. Of course, the newer sensors are better. I even compared the iPhone 7 Plus's camera to the iPhone XR, and I did find that the iPhone XR's camera was better. But when I compared the iPhone 8 Plus to the iPhone XR's camera, I found that they were pretty much similar. Maybe the 8 Plus's was better here and there, but I did find that the 7 Plus to the XR was a bigger difference, so kind of keep that in mind. You guys can go watch that comparison I did too to kind of get a better idea of that. And that's pretty much it for the camera side of things. I'm not a photographer or anything. I don't really like talking about the camera that much. I feel like there's so many other aspects of a phone we can talk about, like the battery life and probably the battery size too. I always should say battery size, then bring up battery life after. I always mess that up. But the battery life is one of those things that I like the most about a phone. And if it has horrible battery life, then I get super salty about it. And this is kind of interesting, okay? The iPhone 7 Plus had a 2,900 mAh battery, and you would think the iPhone 8 Plus is a newer phone, Apple should put a bigger battery in or whatever. That's not the case. Apple cut that battery size to 2,691 mAh. I don't know why they do this. Stupid things, they do them all the time. So Apple decreased the battery size, and I didn't really hear too many complaints about the iPhone 8 Plus's battery life, so that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing, I don't know. Maybe their batteries are dying midway and they can't finish out that statement. But what I will tell you is the battery life on both of these phones is very good. I don't really find one crazily outlasting the other, but I will say that my iPhone 8 Plus is a newer device and my 7 Plus did not have the battery replaced in it, and the battery health is a little bit lower than the iPhone 8 Plus's, so it could be like it's evening out. I'm sure if you put brand new batteries on both of these devices, the iPhone 8 Plus would probably not last as long as the iPhone 7 Plus, so that is one important, crazily important thing to keep in mind. Again, like I stated, I don't think one of these phones is going to outlast the other, like in terms of battery life, but it is kind of sad to see a manufacturer as big as Apple like decreasing the size of the battery. I mean, every year we expect the phones to get faster, the cameras to get better and everything, but with battery life, for some reason these manufacturers, they just decrease it and they don't think like we will care or anything. And that's mostly because most people don't talk about that. They just mostly talk about the camera for 50 minutes or something, and then they're on with their day. I think the battery life is super important, and thankfully Apple is actually going to, hopefully from the leaks and rumors, going to increase the battery size of this year's iPhone. So so hopefully that's the case, but I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. But overall, in terms of battery life, I would probably give the edge to the 7 Plus if you put a brand new battery in it, if you replace it by Apple or whatever, but I don't think one is going to crazily outlast the other. So that's kind of my take on pretty much the whole entire both of these devices really. Some other notable things to note: the home buttons on the front aren't actually like user replaceable. So if you actually want to, if you break it or something, or if you crack the screen or whatever, you actually have to go into Apple to fix that. If you fix it yourself, you're not only going to give up the vibration motor on the front for the home button, but also Touch ID as well. So your home button's not going to work at all. Touch ID isn't going to work. So Apple kind of monopolized that by making you, like, forcing you practically to go to the Apple store to fix that, which is super annoying and just so pointless. So in terms of both of them, which one would I recommend in 2019? In all honesty, if you're trying to save money, like I said before, I would go for the 7 Plus. It's a very solid device. You can probably find one for less than $300. On Amazon, I found them for about less than $400. So you can always get them from there. Links in the description. If you have a little bit more money to spend, I would probably go for the iPhone 8 Plus. It's going to last longer, wireless charging, it's a faster phone technically, better specifications and everything, but I think in real world use, if you're going to be using these phones for like whatever, I don't think you're going to be noticing a crazy difference between them. Yes, on paper the iPhone 8 Plus is faster, better, whatever, but I do think that the 7 Plus is still a solid phone. I see no reason to go, if you currently own a 7 Plus, to go upgrade, and if you're trying to get the best value per dollar, I would probably say the iPhone 7 Plus might be the best example here. You know, you're getting a lot of phone for still kind of expensive. You can probably find a better used Android phone or something with better specifications and whatever. But I think the mixture of iOS and everything, I just think you're getting a better experience with the 7 Plus value per dollar than a lot of other phones. And like I said, if you have unlimited money, go for the 8 Plus. But if you're trying to save money, go for the 7 Plus. And I will leave links in the description for the cheapest iPhone 8 Plus and the cheapest iPhone 7 Plus. I'll leave it right down in the description below. First two links. Every sale that goes through those links, a little bit of that revenue comes back and supports the channel, so we can do more videos like this, some more comparisons, some more giveaways. So I don't mean so much if you guys could check those out, but that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that don't mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it don't mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also, check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I would really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.